What's up everybody, Coach Mills here coming at you with a brand new Valorant video, and in this video we gotta break down some of the crazy things that have been going on in Valorant. First off, we gotta talk about non-stop stuttering that is literally breaking the game, and we're gonna break all that down. Plus we got a Renegades X NSG Invitational Tournament that was a huge tournament that really gives us a brand new meta, because you're gonna be surprised what characters saw no play at all and what characters came from nowhere and saw an astronomically huge amount of play. So we're gonna break all that down and much more, so make sure you watch to the end. But the GameLeap website is the one place if you want to level up your skills and easily climb. Go check it out in the links down below, because we have in-depth VOD reviews, advanced tips and tricks, and much more. And right now it's 50% off, so don't miss out on this amazing opportunity. But without further ado, let's jump into the video. Now right off the bat, let's talk about the invitational that took place over the weekend, with a new coming team and box taking home the gold trophy, with Immortals and Cloud9 soon behind them at the second and third place spot. Now something to note about this tournament is both TSM and Sentinels did not play. Sentinels of course couldn't play because of Sinatra's injury that we covered in a recent video, although I'm not even sure if they would have played regardless. And then TSM simply doesn't play because a lot of times they don't play in some of these smaller tournaments. They're really a team that likes to hide their meta strategies or different things they're doing, and they would rather not show the entire world before the huge Riot hosted tournament First Strike that we're going to talk about at the end of the video. Now that being said, however, there's some notable standouts. First off, Andbox actually did pretty well. However, we need to see them much more if we're going to decide how good they actually are, but they definitely look promising taking down the tournament. Immortals did fairly well, taking that second place trophy, even though both Asuna and Dicey's both got scalped from them by, of course, 100 Thieves, who notably also didn't play in this tournament. Now last up, the last team I want to talk about is T1, who with a brand new roster more or less, a lot of new players including Spider, formerly known as Sire Player, who was a notable cracked out aimer in Overwatch. He played extremely well, and that team did look decent. However, they're gonna have to iron some things out if they really want to cement themselves as one of the top teams in NA. Now, all that being said, however, the more important thing for us is what characters were actually picked. What is the pick rates across the board for every single character? So let's break this down in this meta roundup. So first off, let's look at our new champion of pick rate, and this is actually kind of crazy. Omen had a 99% pick rate, and on Ascent, Haven, and Split, 100% across the board. Now, that pretty much defines him as the best character in the game right now, and this actually makes a lot of sense in a meta that has a lot less ops. As we saw in the tournament, ops weren't used anywhere near as much. When you have a character who not only can smoke for the team, has an unlimited supply of smokes that constantly come off of cooldown, can smoke on defense even when he's not playing with the team, and he can execute plays himself, he just brings so much to the table, and it doesn't surprise me that he has found himself at the #1 spot in the new meta. But there are some interesting things, however, among the rest of the pick rates that I think we can really dig into. Notably, Cypher himself has actually dropped to the 3rd place spot behind Sova, and that is really strange to me, because Cypher was the #1 spot by a mile for so long. However, he's seeing much less play now. Now, if you look at the pick rate, specifically on Ascent, Cypher only had a 54% pick rate, which makes sense to me. On a map as open as specifically Ascent, Cypher seems to be at his weakest, and of course, Jet, Sova, and Omen saw a lot of pick rate, with various amount of pick rate being distributed among a lot of other characters down the line on specifically Ascent. So I'm guessing because of the difference in Ascent compared to a lot of the other maps, the openness of it really contributed to a change of meta here. Now, I want you to notice something else, and we're gonna look into the map Split. Notice how Sova had only a 9% pick rate on Split when he had a above 90% pick rate on Ascent, Haven, and Bind. That seems absolutely crazy. And I want you to notice something else. Both Breach, who only saw a 40% pick rate across the board, and Raze, who only saw a 41% pick rate across the board, had a 75 and a 97% pick rate on specifically Split, respectively. Now, that makes a lot of sense that Raze would see a ton of play, because she's extremely powerful on Split, as I'm sure you know. She can easily take space going up through mid, going up through ramps, punish people who are pushing up through the high ground, and pretty much punish anybody who is routing through vents. Not to mention all the potential bounces for stopping default plant zones. Raze is just one of those essential characters in, of course, the split meta. Now, there are a couple of characters that we really need to talk about because they dramatically changed in pick rate and where they're positioned. First off, we got to talk about REYNA, who out of nowhere is seeing almost a 50% pick rate across the board. That is absolutely crazy because this character was like bottom 3 for many tournaments in a row. Now, as to why this is, I really have to attribute it to a much more lurker style of game. Less about stalling, less about delaying with things like slows, and less about posting up on angles. Much more about setting up lurks, setting up executes, and retakes. And in that environment, REYNA seems to shine, especially when you talk about just how good some of these players are. This also really makes sense that REYNA's highest pick rate is on Haven, a map that really has a lot of opportunity for making these proactive plays on defense or lurking through an obscure pathing to try to get some solo impact. I wouldn't be surprised if we see her more from here on out. However, definitely let me know in the comments down below what you think of REYNA. Are you surprised she hasn't seen that much pro play until now? Or do you think she just doesn't bring enough to the team and she really shouldn't see that much pick rate? Definitely let me know in the comments down below. Now, on top of that, Breach, who a lot of us and many people have thought to be extremely strong, saw very little play on Bind at an only 13% pick rate, and honestly, not that high a pick rate on anything except Split, which we talked about earlier. He seems to be in a solid spot right now, but he's definitely not the overpowered character that many of us thought after he got 3 flashes and a lot of buffs across the board. Now let's start talking about some of our losers, specifically one character that we pretty much completely missed the mark on in Phoenix at an only 22% pick rate with a 5% pick rate on Ascent, which is absolutely abysmal. Now the fact that Phoenix sees so little play really surprises me when REYNA, Jet, and Breach are all seeing substantially more play than him. Maybe it's because just how easy it is for players, especially at the highest level, to turn on his flashes. He's become far more predictable, and the former strategy of lurking up in your smokes and setting up your own smokes to execute on a point where you would smoke off your own entry and then you would group up in the smoke, flash out, it would be really hard to turn on, and your team would push in. Not only is that easier to counter now because players are expecting it, but with Brimstone seeing basically no play, which we're going to talk about in a second, it just doesn't seem as feasible when you really want to save those Omen smokes for more key situations. But that being said, we have a lot of really good Phoenix players on specifically TSM and Sentinel, so I wouldn't be surprised if when those teams are actually playing in the tournament, the Phoenix pick rate goes up, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, last off, we're going to talk about the true losers, which Viper, pretty unsurprising. Viper just doesn't see any play. Doesn't matter how many times they buff this girl, she is still not seeing any play. I really think that maybe some sort of rework is in order. Unfortunately, her primary smoke just doesn't block off long sight lines, and that contributes to one of her biggest weaknesses. Perhaps if she could throw it and retract it from any range, that would be my #1 buff to give her, where you could take your toxic orb back from any range and kind of reel it back and then instantly throw it, maybe no delay, throw it from really far away, bring it back. That could be a way where you could learn rollouts and really tap into the high skill set of the character, high potential skill set of the character. But if you have any suggestions for how to buff Viper to actually make her viable in pro play, definitely let me know in the comments down below. However, an interesting one is Brimstone, who sees only a 1% pick rate across the board. And I mean, this guy basically sees no play at all, which is absolutely crazy. One of the best characters in the game for so long, all of a sudden becomes garbage tier with literally no nerfs to the character. Now, I really think that what hit Cypher hit Brimstone even harder, because with the lack of stalling, I mean, there's a lot less stalling based abilities that are really gumming up players that are playing in default. It's a lot more about executes or challenging people that are playing in default instead of just, you know, having trap wires and slows and mollies and things like that. And on top of that, Omen's shine has really diminished Brimstone's light, because you do not need double smokes in a meta like this. Not at all. It would be complete overkill. It was only seeing slight double smoke play back when ops were like the best thing to be doing, and now with ops nerfed, they just aren't the best thing to be doing. And Omen, when you talk about how much a character can do, Omen just does way more. Brimstone not only can't smoke for players defensively across the map, which is something that Omen can do so well, Omen can also be lurking and make proactive plays by himself, where Brimstone just simply can't. In a world where Omen is this strong, you would never want to pick Brimstone unless you're picking both of them, and we already talked about why that's just not the case. In the current meta, Brimstone might just be one of the worst characters to pick. And then the last character that we got to talk about about is, you know, the fallen from grace 100% pick rate formally down to 0% pick rate in Sage. That is absolutely crazy. I mean, Riot just killed the girl. She is 100% dead, and honestly, I'm not too sad about it. Yes, I would like Sage to maybe see some buffs here or there. However, the meta as it is now is probably the best it's ever been. The meta looks dynamic, much less opping, much more fragging, and plays being made. I really think that a Sage-based meta, where Sage is the best character, is not a meta that is entertaining to watch or fun and engaging, and for that reason, I'm okay with her being at a 0% pick rate. But if you disagree with me, definitely let me know in the comments down below, and if there's any changes you think any of these characters should have, definitely let me know your opinion about it in the comments down below. Now, the next thing that we gotta talk about is the micro stutters, and Jesus, I don't know if you've been dealing with these micro stutters, but every time you've been getting into gunfights or sometimes just randomly, you'll have a giant stutter that literally just messes up your entire gunfight. And sometimes you die from it, and it's incredibly frustrating, and I'm sure you've dealt with this problem. However, Play Valor has actually addressed this issue, stating that there's going to be a hotfix coming later this week. So it's going to fix a lot of these problems. So if you've been dealing with it, they are going to fix it soon. Thank the Lord, because I don't know if you've been having this problem, but I have, and it basically just makes the game unplayable. That's what it feels like. I mean, it doesn't happen all the time, but when it does, it just tilts you instantly, and it's just very frustrating to deal with. So I'm glad that this is coming out as well. Now, the last thing that we gotta talk about is the First Strike tournament. And notably, this is the first Riot hosted event, so it's gonna be a phenomenally huge tournament, and you're gonna see all the heavy hitters in 100 Thieves with the brand new roster with as soon as Dicey's, Hiko, Steel, and Nitro. That's gonna be amazing. We're gonna be seeing TSM, Sentinels, and all the heavy hitters, and we're gonna see who is the best team in NA. And of course, all these newcomers like Anbox and T1. This is gonna be a really crazy amount of gameplay and a lot of things to break down, so we're really excited to do that a part of this channel. Make sure you smash the like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the news or any of the breakdowns we do. And notably, this is how it's gonna go if a team wants to get into the First Strike tournament. That's gonna be December 3rd through 6th. That's gonna be the First Strike main event where 8 teams compete for 100K in prize pool. There's gonna be an open event on October 26th through 30th and another open event on the 11th through the 15th, and every single team has to qualify through this way. Even the top teams, even TSM, even Sentinels, they all have to qualify through this way, and it's single elim, best of 3. Now, the thing is, yes, a team could hypothetically lose the first open, but then they get to play in the second open, and if you do well, the top 16 teams will advance to the qualifying tournament that happens after. So it's open, qualifier, open, qualifier. So every single team has 2 chances. So if your favorite team gets knocked out in the first qualifier, they do have another chance in the next one. However, I'm sure that some of this is going to be seeded, because it would be awful if, like, in the first round, it's some 2 top teams like 100 Thieves and Cloud9. One of them gets knocked out, and then they play in another open qualifier, and 100 Thieves is like playing against FaZe or something like that. I doubt we'll see that as much. Things are probably going to be seeded. However, it's entirely possible that some of your favorite teams will get knocked out right away. So make sure that you don't miss out on any of this, because we're just going to get so much awesome Valorant content, and I, for one, am extremely excited. But you should be excited about going to the GameLeap website right now in the links down below, because we have in-depth VOD reviews, advanced tips and tricks. If you want to climb to Immortal and beyond, we got you on the GameLeap website. And right now, with a special 50% off sale, there's never been a better time. So I can't wait to see you there. But thanks so much for coming. That's all I got for you today. I'm Coach Mills, and of course, until next time.